All right, Wade Roots, back with you again. We're back for the inauguration. Megan and I both. And Megan is deaf. That's the first thing I want to say. Every time I sit down, I say Megan is deaf because I put on the headphones when she does the first hour, and I'm like blasted out of my head because she's been to too many damn rock concerts.
I have.
And so the volume on her headset, which is usually my headset, because she sits in my chair. How dare you? I'm like Archie Bunker. This is my chair. She sits in my chair whenever I'm not here, and she uses my headset. And by the way, it's low compared to Kevin Wall, who's completely deaf.
That's true.
Completely deaf.
That is true.
All right,
that is true.
all right.
I am. I'm a little bit hard of hearing.
All right, you are. I know that. I'm well aware.
Yeah.
So let me start the show by saying it's so weird. You know, the choices people make. I have a friend. When I first came to Hollywood, I was an anchorman for CNBC, and he was an actor. Excuse me. I had a friend who was an actor. He was a screenwriter. And the three of us lived in the same apartment together. We were three buddies from New York, actor, screenwriter, and anchorman. And the actor went on to the business world and is now kind of a part-time comedian and comes on my show, a segment called Schiff Happens, Matt Schiff, one of my oldest, dearest friends. But the screenwriter who wrote some of the most incredible stuff I ever saw, and everyone thought he'd go on to become a great screenwriter. He thought he was Scorsese about to, got involved with hookers, drugs, and alcohol. Jewish kid from New York. Never met a Jewish kid that got involved with hookers, dominatrixes, drunk all day, drugs all night, drunk all day, and ruined his life and wound up going to prison for check kiting. And police pulled him over, and he had like 62 credit cards and 62 names on them. This is my buddy, Jesse. And then he disappeared in prison for like 5 years. Then he got out of prison, and I moved to Vegas, and he found me and came to visit and seemed clean and great again, hugged him, loved him, and said, oh, my God, my Jesse's back. You're okay. And he said, I swear to you, I'll be clean the rest of my life, and we're going to be friends again, and let's write screenplays together and go to the movies. I said, great. We'll write movies. And never heard from him again until yesterday, which is like 8 years from the last time I heard from him, when he wrote me letters from prison saying he got bit by a prisoner and he thinks he has AIDS. So he's in prison for I don't know how many years, and he thinks he has AIDS. His finger was almost bit off. He feels he's going to die in prison. He wants my help to save him. You know, and he wasn't a liberal either. He was pretty conservative politically. But this is my point about bad choices in life. He could have gone the same way I went. He should be a famous screenwriter in Hollywood. But he always had a bad side, and kind of a side that liked to get in trouble because he thought he was like Hemingway. And he could write about it in the screenplays. So he had to taste drugs and alcohol and hookers and dominatrixes. And everything he did was like intended to hurt himself. So then he thought he could be a Hemingway that could write really bad stuff because of his life. And he took it too far, and he just went off the deep end. And by the way, the apex of his deep end was when he went to my Super Bowl party in 1996 with my wife and new baby. And he brought a girl to the Super Bowl party. Jesse brought a girl to the Super Bowl party who he told me was a school teacher in the LA school system. And she proceeded to take ecstasy at the party and run through my neighborhood naked, screaming, do me, do me, do me.
No, she did not.
Swear to God.
Do me.
And so I,
doobie, doobie, doobie.
At the time, I had a maid and nanny helping run the party, you know, clean the party. And I asked them to go, after we caught her running through my neighborhood, I asked them to help her dress and asked him to get her out of there. So they took her upstairs to get her dressed, and the maid came running down like a Mexican maid, and she said in broken English, Mr. Root, the woman's a lesbian. She asked if I would do her.
Was she marching, do you think, in the parade?
She was probably marching in the parade.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wearing a pink pussycat
Wait, it gets
hat.
better. It gets better.
Oh.
Jesse got her pregnant.
Oh, God.
And they were both in prison at the same time.
Oh, good Lord.
And she had his baby in prison.
Oh, Jesus.
This is what happened
long line of
to a
bad decisions.
nice Jewish kid from Queens, New York, Donald Trump's neighborhood.
I bet you she
Jamaica
collects
State.
a teacher's pension. When she gets out of prison, she's going to be put in a rubber room, and we're still going to pay her for not teaching.
Anyway, she's the one I credit with ruining Jesse's life. She took him into a dive that he never recovered from.
On.
He never
Are you
recovered
blaming
from
the
that.
woman?
Yes, he never recovered
Lord.
from the dive and from having the baby in prison. That was the end of him. Anyway, he writes me letters from prison now, begging me to save him. I have no idea what he thinks I can do. He's in prison for years. He's getting older. He must be 54 years old. And he says he's got AIDS now. He was bitten by a guy with virulent AIDS, he says, that has no cure. Now, he's such a wild screenwriter. Maybe he's made this entire story up.
You might be hallucinating, Wayne.
I don't know. But the point of this is the choices that people make are unbelievable.
Does this have anything to do with our Washington, D.C. trip?
No,
I mean, I got you on the freaking metro.
No, it doesn't. But that's okay. We'll go a little long. It's okay. It's just the choices that people make. It has to do with the people that parade don't like rich Republicans because maybe rich Republicans always made good choices. I am disciplined. I spend my life sacrificing, working 16 hours a day. I've never drank alcohol and I've never smoked. I've never done a drug. Okay? I could be a Mormon. I've never done soda and I've never done coffee. I'm the perfect Mormon. And so I made good choices and my buddy made bad choices. And he's a nice Jewish boy. I'm a nice Jewish boy. I wound up doing well. He's in prison. He thinks he has AIDS and has no way out of prison. He's broke and can't afford a lawyer to fight his way out of prison. Yeah, there's the bad choices in life.
Right, but you have to understand that the marchers would have hated you whether you were rich or not. Just the fact that you're a man. You are the problem. You are the patriarch that's keeping them down. Well, it's the patriarchal society.
And they'd hate you as a woman who's a conservative.
Correct.
So it doesn't matter.
I wasn't invited. I mean, it was called the Women's March. And I'm like, what? These are women? Really? I mean, I could not believe the amount of young children, young girls, that were used as pawns by their parents.
Holding signs with the F word on them.
Correct.
Right.
And with the P word on them.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because when you juxtapose that with Hillary Clinton, remember her advertisement with Donald Trump and the children? It was a TV advertisement.
Democrats always say it's the children. It's always for the children.
And so the children are watching Donald Trump on TV, and then they're bleeping out the words, and they're like, your children are watching and
the
listening.
big thing was the use of the P word. Now they're all using it.
Right. Yeah, so children were watching and listening, and I'd like to hear the excuse for this vulgarity. Yeah. Like, that's okay? And then they're taking their kids to go watch a communist by the name of Angela Davis, a Sharia-loving supporter by the name of Nancy Massour.
Is that the one who organized the entire event? I know the Sharia woman who's the organizer of the entire event. Right, yeah,
that was her, and she was handing out American flag hijabs or hijabs or however you call it.
Look, wherever there's trouble, there's a communist and there's a Muslim sympathizer behind every rock that there's trouble
and so you have all of these lemmings, these female vulgar lemmings using their daughters as pawns, and then what are they raising, like communist radicals? Is this the new standard?
I look at the ones in the marching and I just can't figure out how any of them had daughters. Because there needs to be a man usually to have a daughter, but they probably were involved with artificial
I can't believe they had daughters. I just figured they'd abort them at 9 months.
Yeah.
Following the good old
No, but if you
platform.
are a Democrat who loves lesbians, then you only want daughters. You'd abort the male, see?
Really?
Right, yes. This isn't China where you abort the female, which is a disgusting thing to do.
You don't think lesbians adopt boys?
No, I think lesbians hate men, so they don't want to have a boy. They like women.
Well, they could mold them into their image, though.
Well, they could. They could. Yeah. They could make their son into a little
the twisted
fairy boy.
The progressives, after this parade and what I witnessed firsthand with the anarchists, I chased down the anarchists.
In front of me. Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Did you get beat up? No.
It could have happened. You were wishing it would happen, it seems like.
I was not wishing for you to get beat up.
She gets in the face of people who have never seen a bath or a job. And Megan, and she starts screaming at them
I know
that they're losers.
I called them victims. I'm like, I cannot believe that there are this many victims in the world. Where can we find a safe space big enough for you all?
Okay, but you're riling them up.
They need to
you're
get an island.
They're spoiling for a fight.
No,
and
it's
you're
called
riling
ridicule.
Them. You're riling them.
Yeah, but you did like my two-bird salute.
I'm standing next to you in a fur-collared overcoat. I'm standing next to you in a beautiful suit and a fur-collared overcoat. They're not going to hit you. They're going to hit me with a brick, just so you know, okay? If they're going to set anyone on fire, it's going to be me. Me and a pile of American flags on fire. Okay. All right. Thank God it didn't happen. I don't want to be set loose on them. All right. I want to read an interesting article here, a little tidbit, while Megan is sitting in the chair. DNC and my great buddy Hollis is standing by for an interview momentarily, and he's listening to this. I want him to hear this. The Democratic National Committee chairman candidates were at a forum. A racially charged forum. Can you guess?
That.
Can you guess what the racially charged means?
They hate white people.
They hate white people. They can't stand white people. So here's what some of them said. First of all, South Carolina's Democratic chairman, Jamie Harrison, said you cannot come to the DNC and get a contract, and the only minority face you have is the person answering the phone. That's mild. That's nothing. That's nothing. So this guy, Fox News analyst, candidate for the chairmanship, Jamu Green, I've seen...
Jamu.
I've seen her.
It's a woman.
I know, I've seen her on Fox News. The DNC did a piss-poor, pathetic job of attracting minorities, she said. Really? Really? You don't think there aren't enough minorities in the Democratic Party? Where do you think they are? In the Donald Trump side? Oh, my God. There aren't enough minorities in the Democratic Party?
They just haven't imported enough.
Where did she come from, Mars? How about this one? Democrats must provide training that focuses in part on teaching Americans, and I want you to hear this quote, Alice. Megan, you ready?
Yeah.
How to be sensitive and how to shut your mouth if you're white, urged the executive director of Idaho's Democratic Party, Sally Brown, who is white. The event's moderator asked the candidates how the party should handle the Black Lives Now movement. The candidates all agreed, what a surprise, they jumped all over themselves, to agree the party must embrace the activists unreservedly.
Domestic terror. What do we want? Domestic terrorism. When do we want it? Now.
When we want dead pigs, when do we want it now?
Exactly.
It makes me sad that we're even having this conversation. And that tells me that white leaders in our party have failed, Brown said. Keep in mind, she's a white woman from Idaho. From Idaho. Isn't that where when you retire from the KKK?
Idaho,
don't you retire in Idaho?
Idaho, Idaho.
I'm a white woman, she said, and I don't get it. My job is to listen and be a voice and shut other white people down when they want to interrupt.
How do you think that's going to work with me?
How do you think that's going to work with every white person in America?
Yeah, no.
You numbnuts moron.
I want them to keep talking.
Wait. Another candidate said black Americans are now living with, quote unquote, a justified fear of being killed after Donald Trump was elected president.
What about the 800 that were murdered in Chicago this past year?
Raymond Buckley, the chairman for the... You have common sense. Raymond Buckley, the chairman for the New Hampshire Democratic Party, told a story about how in the midst of grieving on Election Day, you know, when my mom and dad died 28 days apart, I grieved. Okay? You don't grieve because Trump was elected president. So unless you're sick and mentally ill. In the midst of grieving on Election Day, he received a call from his black niece who feared for her life after Trump's victory. It's not just certain parts of this country. That fear is across the country, he said. It's even in rural New Hampshire. Yeah, they're coming to kill blacks in rural New Hampshire. Oh, my God. So when people say Black Lives Matter, you're damn right they matter. I'm quoting from him. Asked whether they would agree to work with President Trump. Now, these are the candidates for the DNC. The candidates all agreed they would never do so, which drew applause from the otherwise quiet crowd at GW University. Now, what the media doesn't tell you is the reason they were a quiet crowd is there was no one there. It was a freaking corpse-laden crowd. 12 people, 3 of them died 5 years ago, but they still voted in Chicago.
Right. Exactly.
Quiet crowd. They're all so quiet. The reason they're quiet is they got nothing to say at the march. What do they say? What do they believe in?
Well, guess what they're doing now? Okay, with this stupid march, they're going to do another one. They're going to, as they usually do, pit different people against different people, right? So now they're going to pit women against women. This is how it's going to be. As a pro-life woman, I can't go to the march. But look, if I want the baby ripped out at 9 months, heck yeah, I can go to that march anytime. I can go to that march twice.
They cheer for abortion. That's
what I'm saying. That is
abortion.
their sacred cow. And that's what I'm trying to figure out what this march was about.
Nobody knows.
No, or what their grievances were.
It's about mixed up women who need to be on a psychiatrist's couch. That's what the march is about.
Yeah, I just said they marched because they can't. I don't think I can.
They're just not happy, and they can't find a man. They'll never find a man. No man would go near any of the women in that march, and that's why they're marching. It's like a man to protest the fact that their lives are manless. That's what the protest is about.
They hate men.
It's the man.
They hate them because they can't get a man.
When I was like 8 at Trapphagen Elementary School, Mount Vernon, New York, there was a women. The little girls belonged to the Man Haters Club.
Yeah,
And that's what this is. Years later, grown up, they're in the Man Haters Club.
You know that Catherine Cortez Masto flew out there for it. She used taxpayer dollars to go march. You know, I'm sure she coordinated that with the inauguration, whatever. I wanted to interview her today or at some point, and I'm going to.
She's not going to come on your show.
I'm going to. Maybe I'll ambush journalism.
Wait, I said that wrong. She's not going to come on my show that you're guest hosting. She's not coming on the show. She's not coming on the show.
Probably not. But you know what? I can.
Wait, let me give you this message. Hey, Mastro. What's her name again?
Mastro Castro.
What's our senator's name?
Catherine Mastro.
Mastro Castro. Mastro Castro or Castro Mastro?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Cortez Masto.
Cortez Masto. Catherine Cortez Masto. If I was you, I wouldn't get anywhere near Wayne Root or Megan. Because Megan Barth and Wayne Root will rip you to shreds.
I just want to know if her...
The birds will be picking your innards when we're done with you.
I want to know who her favorite speaker was. Was it the communist? Was it the Muslim sympathizer? Was it Ashley Judd who was talking about wet dreams, or was it Madonna
and bloodstained bed sheets?
Yeah, bed sheets, or was it Madonna threatening to
blow up the White
House?
Here's the answer: when you're a Democrat, it's impossible to choose such good things.
Yeah, right.
There's no way to choose.
Well,
those are such attractive choices.
Yeah, they would spin it and just say, "Well, it was more of the theme of the event about Yeah, right. Okay. What was exactly the theme that your pussycats are lonely? What was it? They bite back? I mean, I don't know.
The theme was that they are trashy. Was that nasty? Nasty. They're bragging. They're nasty. And don't forget the theme that Donald Trump wants to have sex with his daughter.
Right.
That was the theme too.
Oh, that was the theme too.
Big theme
yes.
from Ashley Judd.
Yeah, your children are listening, Wayne.
Ashley Judd is just annoyed because Ashley Judd hasn't had a part in a movie in about 5 years. That's why Ashley's annoyed. That's why she's in a bad mood. And I don't know the last time she had a man. That's why she's annoyed.
I'm thinking that maybe at the next Women's March, they should make it like a 3 or 5K and they actually have to run. And then listen to the speakers. And then at the end, if they have any daughters that are pregnant, they can have them get an abortion and then a clitorectomy. Because this whole Sharia law thing is supposedly empowering to women.
They'd be very excited.
So, I mean, just dive in head first.
That's an exciting repertoire.
Right?
Exciting repertoire.
Yeah.
Easy with the head first.
They're joyless.
Easy with the head first
They're
analogies.
joyless individuals, so why not?
Easy with the head first analogies in a march filled with lesbians. Easy there, baby, okay? Take it easy. People are going to get the wrong idea. Wayne Allyn, WA.R now. Megan Barr, thank you.
You're welcome.
For the first hour and then for being here with me here.
Absolutely.
We are very good together.
We do. I know.
Very good.
I know. We even fly well together.
I mean, between the two of us.
I dragged your butt on a metro subway. Okay,
I haven't been on a subway in 30 years, by the way, so everybody knows. 30 years since I stepped foot in a subway, and it had the same feeling as it did 30 years ago. Not going to say another word.
You're a good sport.
Can I remind people of urine smell, gum, sticking to walls,
with his fur coat
graffiti,
and suit on. Fur coat and suit
on. That's what I used to wear in New York City, too, when I was on the subway. That's why I never went back.
You said you never took a New York subway.
No, I did a few times at Columbia University.
You're going to have to tell Mike Shipman. I said you never did.
Very few times. And I knew I'd never do it again. Okay. Then I took taxis. And by the way, 1 month of living in New York City.
Well, the fact that you got me on a bus, because I don't do buses.
Eventually, I moved. I lived in the city. And my first month in the city, my taxi bill was $2,200. Just so you know. That's why people take subways.
I know.
Who the hell has $22?
Did you grow up with like
taxi?
a golden spoon in your mouth or what, silver spoon?
No, I just always was good at making money.
That's what you
said. I've always been better at spending it, unfortunately. All right. Wayne Allyn. The show is WA.R now. Megan Barr, thank you.
You're welcome.
Up next, our guest is Hollis Barnhart talking about his brother-in-law, Frank Barker, one of the great super cops of Las Vegas history, who died about 48 hours ago. And was just a great guy. Met him, and I want to do a little memorial segment in honor of one of the great cops, Frank Barker. I'm Wayne Allyn, WA.R now. We'll be right back with Hollis and a memorial for Frank Barker. All right, Wayne Allyn, WA.R now. And so one of the great cops, super cops, in the history of this great town died was about 48 hours ago, I guess it was, or 3 days ago?
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the day before yesterday.
No, it was yesterday at 12:30.
Yesterday at 12:30. His name's Frank Barker. I've met him. He's my great friend, Hollis Barnhart's brother-in-law, married Hollis' sister. Hollis is with us today to reminisce a bit, and kind of do a memorial here for one of the great cops in our town's history. 36 years, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, Frank Barker. Hollis, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And speaking about that 36 years, Wayne, I've never seen this probably in any business, who knows, but he never missed one day in 36 years.
He retired after 36 years, never took a sick day, ever.
Not one, never missed a day.
Amazing.
It's unbelievable. But this is the guy, and it wasn't like he was a big, guy that just wanted to, pull his weight and show off like that. But, I mean, here's a guy that was kind, generous, a teacher, a trainer. He was a leader like you. I mean, if they would send somebody over to Boulder Highway to clean it up, he wouldn't just radio a couple deputies to go. He would be the first car out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was the type of guy he was.
And he was in charge of organized crime at the Las Vegas Metro Police Department,
Yeah,
correct?
well, throughout 36 years, you're going to be into homicide, to vice, but he ran organized crime. In fact, at the wedding that you went to 20-something years ago.
Your wedding.
My wedding.
Yeah.
It was funny because a lot of the cops were on one side of the aisle, and on the other side we had all the sports bettors and the gamblers.
But that's not to say criminals, but because sports betting is legal in Las Vegas.
Right, and there might have been a
criminal. There were a few bookmakers
right.
or two in there, yeah, I'm
exactly.
Sure.
But, he went through... when he joined the force in 1966, basically you go through three different eras. back in 66, this town might have had 140, 50, 60,000 people. And just picture, I guess, Gunsmoke, Matt Dillon, the Tin Badge, the horse, and it was that type of small.
And Frank Barker was that kind of guy, by the way.
He was that type of guy. And then when they started to clean up, whether it was over on the west side or whether it was on Boulder Highway, which was just who knows what was out there, except Frank, they used to call him Felony Frank. And it was like, why would they call him Felony Frank? Well, what he would do is when they would send him in, he would put his head in the door, and he'd wait till they committed a bunch of felonies and finish fighting and all that stuff, and then he would take them in. But he, why get hurt? Just go in there themselves. But he worked before they even merged, when it used to be the old Las Vegas Sheriff's Department merged with the city of Las Vegas. And he worked under Ralph Lamb. I'm sure you're familiar with that
Of
name.
course, famous.
And then John Moran took his place. He worked with Bill Young. I talked to him yesterday.
Bill Young's now head of security for station casinos.
Yes,
all 20 station casinos.
Yes. And another thing too. Back in the day, you have a lot of founding members then that people now join in and just continue it. But let me tell you some of the things that he founded. He was the original founder of Nevada Child Seekers.
Really?
Yeah, years and years ago. The Injured Police Officers Fund. He founded that. He founded the Baker to Vegas Run, and that used to co-join the policemen in California with here in Las Vegas.
Was he a runner? Was he a marathon?
Oh, he was a marathon runner all
Really?
the time. And he used to take his kids, and they would walk miles and miles and miles and pick up cans all the time. Always picking up cans, and then they would go home, and he would teach them how to smash them down, put them in the thing, and then sell them. And I think when my nephew got to be like 13, 14 years old, he had like $12,000 just from can money. I mean, it was incredible. With Paul Connor, I don't know if you remember that name, one of the top brass in Metro. They started the Brass Challenge through Valley of Fire. And I will tell you this, another thing. He started a lot, he did a lot, he cleaned up a lot. But on the other side, I remember when he had just married my sister. And I must have yelled at her kind of like in the wrong way. And he pulled me aside and he said, Hollis, she's not your sister anymore. She's my wife. And I tell you, right from that moment, I knew.
You got the message.
I got the message. And
he's wearing a gun in a holster. I'd be very careful.
Speaking about wearing a gun, we were going, we had a robbery in progress. And then I'm like, great, because I was out in the field with him. It used to be that you could get in his unmarked car, you'd sign a waiver, put it in, and then he would take you out for 3 or 4 hours.
Those days are gone, right? You can't do that anymore.
I think so. I doubt that they would ever let you. But back in those days, it was great.
These were the 1970s? What was this?
This would have been in the early 70s. And he had a old Plymouth Fury, and so all of a sudden we get it over the radio that there's a robbery in progress. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be so cool. The high-speed chase, red lights, sirens, we're unmarked, and we're going to catch these guys. So he takes off, and he turns in, and he pulls in for dinner. I'm like, what are you doing? This is dinner. He said, yeah, they'll be there. Don't worry about it. They won't get too far away. We go in there and have to eat dinner, and for 20 minutes, we come out. So we're cruising around, and we ended up over on the southeast part of town, kind of where Wayne Newton's house is, over there by Sunset and Pecos.
Well, that was then. Now Southeast is where I live at Anthem Country Club. That's Southeast.
Well,
but it didn't even go that far then. Town wasn't anywhere near there.
They didn't even have any lights out there except on that one corner. It was the darkest, scariest thing.
Listen, in 2002, when I bought my house at the Anthem Country Club, Eastern had no stores on it. It was empty on both sides. In 2002, it was empty.
Well, imagine this in 1970. So we're out there, and all of a sudden we see the car. And we see it match the.
They hadn't caught them all that time. You were eating at every.
Well, we were only 20 minutes behind the entire scene. So by now they've escaped. They've gone to that part of the town and everything. And he says, "Oh, that looks like the robbers." So we go after a chase. They lead us into the darkest pits of whatever was out there at Pecos and Sunset, off road and everything.
And he's got you in the car, an unarmed civilian.
I'm in the car, and he's in the car. They finally pull over. So he said. He unlocks the shotgun, and he says, open the door, take the shotgun, put it over the top of the door, and aim it right at the back of the window. So now I do that. He gets
How old are you at this point?
Maybe 21 or 2.
Okay. Have you ever shot a gun before?
No, never even held a gun. Nothing. So anyway, I grab the gun, and I'm looking, and he's, another thing he said, look real big. So I'm looking big. I got this shotgun.
What a great story.
I'm all proud and everything. Now, all of a sudden, he has to walk. And I'll tell you what, that walk, 30 or 40 feet that all of our officers every day.
Scariest walk in the world.
I can't tell you how scary it was. I lived it. And I was behind the door.
You were shaking every step he took.
I don't remember that. All I know is I just could not believe that he had to make that lonely walk. And it was
in the dark.
It was at midnight. It was dark, and I mean, there wasn't anything out in this thing. There probably wasn't a house within 5 miles of this place.
I don't even know why he walked. He should have just stayed behind the door and made them come out.
Yeah, it wasn't him. That's not Felony Frank. So anyway, he walks up there, and he's got his gun drawn, and I don't see the window go down. I don't see the car door open up. So anyway, the door opens up. He talks to him for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then next thing you know, he puts his gun back in the holster, and he comes back to the car, and they pull off, and he gets in the car, and he said something like, well, it wasn't them. It was the same description, but it wasn't them. So I said, wow, I was so scared, but Frank, let me tell you something. I had your back the entire way with that shotgun. He looked at me, he said, you think I was going to give you a loaded shotgun?
Great story.
I mean, it was not loaded. And then there was another time, where he was human. I remember pulling up.
By the way, we're talking about Frank Barker, who passed away yesterday about 12:30 p.m., one of the great super cops in Vegas history, 36 years, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, brother-in-law of Hollis Barnhart. And by the way, his lovely wife, tell her name.
Jerry Barker.
Jerry's your sister.
Right.
And Jerry Barker lost her husband yesterday.
She ran fingerprinting for about 30 years. And
she was a cop too?
Well, she was a civilian police department employee, but she ran fingerprinting. And, there's I'll tell you how popular, or not popular, but how many people know them. My little sister just put out the notice yesterday and had like 400 comments on Facebook. And I mean, that's
wow.
a lot of comments.
That's a lot of comments.
That's not just liking.
No,
I'm
that's
talking
a lot
about
of
written
comments.
comments. That's my little sister.
Well, he was beloved.
I can't tell you how many my big sister had just off of that.
Wait, by the way, is there going to be a giant memorial service in this town?
On Monday there will be, and I'm sure the sisters, and it's going to be Metro will be presented there, and it will be everything.
Did they give you a cop's funeral? Will there be hundreds of policemen there?
I don't know, probably not that, but they'll have the honor guard, and there will be, I'm sure there'll be some sheriffs, some deputy chiefs, some chief of polices.
They all knew him. Everybody knew him.
You know what? They knew him from the back docks all the way up to the highest guy. I mean, he said hello to everybody, and he meant something to almost everybody that he met. But I remember one time I was riding another time in one of those unmarked cars, and we pull into Desert Inn and Maryland Parkway, and we're at the stoplight. So here comes these two guys, and they're probably about 17, 18 years old, and they come just screeching in, and they're revving up their engine during the stoplight, and I rolled down the window, and I looked at them, and I said, you know what? You need to just, keep it easy. We're on a pretty busy street. And, of course, they did the smart-ass remark, hey, screw you. We'll do what you want. Frank reached over, put his red light on the dash, and said, guys, we're trying to give you a break here. You can either take off nice and easy, or we can just go over to the side of the road, and I can explain it further. What do you want to do? Well, I think those two guys are still at that stoplight. They were going so slowly when it rained out. But, that was the type of guy he was. He would give you a break, but yet he would be the only guy that would walk into the shanty on Boulder Highway and clean it up all by himself. In fact, there were some times that there was a lot of writing and things like that. He was one of the few people that they would put in a car without having to put a partner in there. So, I just wanted to let not just him, but so many people have known him for the last 36 years, but also the metaphor is, and the analogies are, that every day, everything he went through for 36 years, protecting us and patrolling, is happening there now. And every day these officers are putting their lives on the line. And, I'm glad you gave me a few moments to cherish his memory. So many people.
More than a few moments. I stretched it because I wanted Frank to get lots of time. Frank, we love you. We wish you well in heaven, my friend.
Well, Frank
I know
gave
you're
you
looking.
A badge too, a little badge. That's
he
why
did give me a little badge. If I was ever pulled over, he gave me a badge to show the police I'm a friend of the police. That was 15 years ago, a long time ago.
I know it never.
Frank was a good guy, and
works.
I know you're up in heaven looking down at us. We want to send you our love and send our condolences to Jerry Barker, his wife of how many years?
Going on almost 50 years.
Almost 50 years.
And plus he took care of my mom, who's still alive, chasing 90. So it's been a big family thing. We've been here since the early 50s. We built the Little White Chapel in 54. So we've had a contact with Vegas for a zillion years.
All right. Hollis Barnhart, a great old friend of mine of how many years? When I say old, I don't mean you're old. I mean an old friend. We've been friends for almost 25 years now.
1992.
All right, 92 to 2002 to 2012. So about 25 years. Just what I said, 25 years.
Seeing you every
there we
day
go.
for 25
Here,
years.
give me a high five.
All right.
25 years, my friend.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Hollis Barnhart and Frank Barker and your whole family. We extend our condolences from the entire Wayne Root family and the entire family of all the listeners of this show at KBET 790 AM, 98.1 FM in Palm Springs. We will head to a break right now. When we get back, we'll be taking your calls. I see we already have a call about Frank Barker. That's call us at 702-546-4790, 702-546-4790. And if you know about Frank Barker, I know there's one caller on the line, please feel free to call up and give us your memories of one of the great super cops in Vegas history, a legend. Vegas history. Frank Barker. We extend our love to Jerry, the wife who lost her wonderful husband. So sorry. Wayne Allyn Root, WAR Now. All right, Wayne Allyn Root, WAR Now. By the way, Hollis wanted me to mention on the way out the door that Frank Barker was Captain Frank Barker of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and Deputy Chief in his later years. Deputy Chief and third in line of leadership for the entire Las Vegas MPD, Metropolitan Police Department. Captain and Deputy Chief Frank Barker, a little reminiscing with Hollis Barnhart about his brother-in-law, Frank Barker. All right. Again, we extend our condolences to both the Barnhart and the Barker families. A great, great, great historic, legendary figure in the Las Vegas Police Department has passed. Frank, we're thinking about you, man. All right. We've got a caller about Frank, actually. Travis on line 2. Line 2. Travis, you're on with WAR. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing the best I can. How are you?
Good. So what was your story with Frank Barker?
Well, it's a little kind of a family web with Frank.
Are you a cop, Travis? Are you a cop?
No, I'm afraid I'm not.
But a friend of Frank's?
Yeah, I'm kind of a family member. His son, he has two sons, Todd and Curtis, and Todd is my half-brother. So
got it.
Frank was married to my mother in the early 60s.
Okay.
Yeah, so I listened to you every day, and I heard Frank's name and got real excited. I'm driving with my daughter, so we pulled over here, and I was able to make contact. So I just figured I would, over the radio, offer my condolences to Jerry, Todd, and Kurt, and the rest of the family. I'll see them. Well, actually, Todd is on his way, and we have even another brother from a different father who's also on his way. And we'll all meet here probably tonight or tomorrow. And then, like you already know, the service is Monday.
Yeah, it's so sad. I mean, when I was talking to Hollis about some of those stories, I had tears in my eyes, and I got a funny feeling on my back. You know, Frank is here with us now. That spirit is listening to this whole conversation. He's laughing because he made it onto radio, and in a way, national radio, because a lot of people listen to this show. About a third of my audience listens online all over the United States. So I think Frank is laughing up in heaven that he's getting some good public relations here.
I think so too, and I had just spoken to him on chatting on the computer. We were talking about my mother and listening to old records. And Frank really liked the Kingston Trio and some of the old folk music from the mid and late 50s.
I remember that name, Kingston Trio. I remember that name.
He was going to give his other son and I some albums here recently. And then just a few weeks ago, Todd was visiting with his family. He has two little kids, the same age as my daughter here. And we all went out in the desert, 20 miles away, and went shooting for about 3 or 4 hours. So that was just a few weeks ago I saw Frank. Of course, he was doing fine.
Well, it's a sad thing. Everybody's, everybody goes sometime, and as you get older, it just happens. But it's always sad to see a great cop go who was so active and such a brave, heroic law fighter against lawbreakers. And when guys like that go, it just seems extra sad. Extra sad.
And that's true. I haven't spoken to Hollis since last Christmas, but he's right. Frank was a great runner. So is Todd. And when I was younger, probably around 10, so 35 years ago, I remember Frank doing the turkey trot, some 10Ks up in Mount Charleston by the lodge, half marathons. I did one race with him. We used to do, there was a half marathon that used to be real popular. It started at the El Cortez, and then it would finish at the El Dorado. You ran all the way down Boulder Highway because there was no freeway then. That was how you got to Henderson, of course. And Frank was a good dad. He was really active in the Boy Scouts. He was been going to the same church, to my knowledge, for a long time. My daughter goes to the First Good Shepherd School downtown. I think his youngest son also attended that school for a while. Frank was a very humble man, and if I remember, he was born in either Virginia or West Virginia. I can't quite remember.
Well, just, it's, what it sounds like, Travis, I always think of cops this way. Cops are just great people. They're patriots. They're salt of the earth. They're what America is all about. And most of them played football in high school, and they love America and they love the NFL like I do. A lot of them are Republicans like I am. Republican Party's the party of the cops and the party of the people who want to keep America safe again and make America great again. And you find a lot of great people like Frank, and he just sounds to me like if Norman Rockwell or Hemingway wanted to write about what makes an American a great American, I would pick Frank Barker. I really would. Hey, thank you for the call. Really appreciate it, Travis. Really appreciate you thinking of us and pulling over to the side of the road. I appreciate that you listen to this show every day, and that was your first call. So thank you for the first call ever. Hope there'll be many, many more from Travis. Take a quick break. We get back. We have more callers on the line, 702-546-4790, talking about Frank Barker, Super Cop. Wayne Allyn Root, WAR Now. All right, Wayne Allyn Root, welcome back, WAR Now. And by the way, speaking of cops, thank God for cops. I always say it's the thin blue line. It's the only thing preventing us from, being raped and murdered and robbed and carjacked and, what's it called when people enter your house? They call it a, what's it called? No, not a burglary. I mean when they, home invasion robbery, where they hold you hostage in the house and steal everything from you, home invasion robbery. If there are no police, these things happen on an hour-by-hour basis. But with the police, there's still plenty of them. Can you imagine without them what this world would be like? They are the thin blue line. They are all we've got. And I was just struck by the fact that I have many friends in Summerlin who tell me Summerlin is under just invasion. I've always thought of Summerlin as the Beverly Hills of Las Vegas. But Summerlin is under invasion, whether it's carjackings or whether it's home invasions or it's whether simple, as Jameson said, burglaries when no one's home. There have been so many houses robbed in Summerlin. It is an epidemic, a crime wave going on in Summerlin. And then now all of a sudden on my end of town, I see the person shot and killed at the jewelry store at Henderson Mall. I believe the Sunset Galleria, if I remember correctly. The guard tried to shoot the criminal who was robbing the store at gunpoint, and he shot the poor female employee instead, who was killed on the spot. Then I see just today, Henderson Credit Union was robbed at gunpoint this morning. Robbers at large. I live right off Henderson Avenue. It was on Henderson Avenue near Serene Avenue. That's my neck of the woods. 2 people armed with handguns entered Silver State Schools Credit Union just before 10 a.m. So you're talking broad daylight. And so there are armed robberies going on in Henderson. There are robberies and home invasion robberies going on in Summerlin. We're in the middle of a crime epidemic in Las Vegas. It really is bad. And I say that because we're reminiscing about Frank Barker. Thank God for the police. Without the police, think of the trouble we'd be in if this happens while we have good police at our side. Think what would happen if they weren't there. Think what America would be like. Think what your life would be like. Think what sending your kids off in the morning to school would be like if we didn't have police there to protect us. So thank God for guys like Frank Barker. All right, speaking of Frank, we have a Frank on the line. How's that for a segue? Is that a segue? I should get a radio award for that one. Frank, you're on with Wayne Allyn Root. How are you?
Yeah, I've been better, but I was glad to see evidently Trump's doing a lot of things that we don't even know. He's excuse me. He's already got the the bust of what most historians consider the man of the 20th century, Winston Churchill, back. If you know, within the first 3 months, that god-awful monster we had for 8 years, he sent that bust back to Britain. I mean, this guy was, everyone, all your listeners know what hideous, treasonous we've had to deal with. But to his blessings, we got more Americans with guns. We've got more Republicans in 98% of the counties of this country. So, he might have been a blessing in disguise. But by chance, have you ever seen the segment on the O'Reilly Factor called Water's World?
Of course. I love Water's World.
Yeah, did you catch Saturday? Now, he's got his own show on Saturday. Did you catch Saturdays?
I know he's got his own show, but I didn't see it. Tell me what I missed.
Well, I know we're up against it. I'm just going to leave you with this. He went to the women's march and everything, 95, and O'Reilly asked him. He said no. 95% of the women that were there, they couldn't even answer a question. They didn't even really know why they were there. These are Lenin's useless idiots. Megan Baby said it. Rush said it. You don't compromise with these people. They're not interested in compromise. We passed 9 cabinet members for Obama his first year, and Chucky Schmucky, they're on delay, stall. They don't know the word reciprocity. They're rude. They're vile. I'm going to leave you with that. These are vile people. They're treasonous. War. Take care.
All right, thanks, Frank. And I agree. I say it all the time on the show. They are vile, and I'll give you proof they're vile. Speaking of a segue, I've got it in my hand. So thank you, Frank. You led right into a perfect segue before we take a news break. Gold Star family members say they were assaulted during inaugural ball festivities. And so there were not a lot of demonstrators outside the ball I was at, which is the Liberty Ball, but the ball for the soldiers, which I think was called the Armed Services Ball, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's what it was called. And it was honoring Medal of Honor recipients. Oh, it's called the Veterans Inaugural Ball. I was wrong. The Veterans Inaugural Ball, and they were honoring Medal of Honor recipients. And when we get back, I'll tell you what they did to the Gold Star people, the relatives outside who lost family members in war. They were terrible to them. Terrible. When we get back, Wayne Allyn, War Now. Get back, Wayne Allyn, War Now. Get back, Wayne Allyn. All right, what is war good for? Everything. Wayne Allyn, the middle-class warrior, relentless freedom fighter, capitalist evangelist, conservative rock star, and all-around badass. And I'm here for you today in the 5 o'clock hour. Hope you enjoyed the 4 o'clock hour and you heard the wonderful stories, folksy, emotional stories about Frank Barker, who just died yesterday. Super cop, former captain and deputy chief of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I had his brother-in-law, Hollis Barnhart, one of my best friends in the world for 25 years, in here to talk about Frank and his life and his legacy. Great guy. Who am I? I'm a warrior for God, guns, gold, tax cuts, term limits, and Trump. And I probably should add in the police, because I'm one of the great fighters on behalf of the thin blue line in this country. No one loves and respects and understands the value of police more than I do. So thank you for your service to this city and this country, Frank Barker. But God, guns, gold, tax cuts, term limits, and Trump is how we save America, capitalism, and American exceptionalism. My books, The Power of Relentless and Angry White Male, both available at Amazon.com. And anytime you buy those books and want Wayne Root to sign them, all you do is call the station. And at our call-in number, when I'm on the air, 702-546-4790, and let us know when you want to come by. I'll come in early any day to meet you to sign those books, The Power of Relentless and Angry White Male. My website is rootforamerica.com. All my opinions on video. Register for free at rootforamerica.com right now. Call-in phone number, 702-546-4790. If you're in California, it's 844-263-8232. Many ways to enjoy the show. You can listen online at 790talknow.com. Listen live online, 790talknow.com anytime, or listen to the shows you missed at my YouTube channel, War Now Radio. Go to YouTube and go to War Now Radio. This show is sponsored by Swiss America, the gold standard, the #1 precious metals company in America. Contact Swiss America at 800-BUY-COIN, 800-BUY, B-U-Y, coin, or go to SwissAmerica.com. All right, time for the world-famous Root Rant. Some of the things going on in the world today that bother me or that I'm excited about and that make me feel good. It's kind of a combination today. First of all, Democrats are morons. You heard me mention this in the first hour. The DNC chair candidates were bashing white people in a racially charged forum. It's funny when they say racially charged. It sounds like, it's blacks against whites. No, the only thing Democrats do is bash whites. They don't like whites. They don't support whites. They don't encourage whites. Everything is about bashing white people. It's all Democrats care about. Bashing white people when they're not talking about climate change and global warming. They're just mentally imbalanced when they're not talking about how unfair it is that rich people have money. So that's the bashing on my part. The negativity is the DNC chair candidates bashing white people and saying white people really have no right to do anything but shut up and sit down. Angry number 2 is the Gold Star family members who were assaulted during the inaugural ball festivities. I was not at the military ball, otherwise known as the Veterans Inaugural Ball. I was at the Liberty Ball, but veteran families were at the Veterans Inaugural Ball, and they were treated horribly. Amy Looney, who lost her husband, Navy SEAL, Lieutenant Brendan Looney, in 2010. I can't even hear the word Navy SEAL without, clicking my heels, standing up straight, and saluting. My God, bravest people in the world. My heroes. And Ryan Mannion, whose brother, Marine First Lieutenant Travis Mannion, died in 2007. So 2 relatives of people who died in battle said they were attacked as they tried to enter the American Legion's tribute to Medal of Honor recipients at the Veterans Inaugural Ball. As we got there, we found ourselves separated from the rest of the group. Walking to the gallows that night, we're caught in between the entrance to the event and 75 protesters that got very angry with us and converged on us. We were pushed by a man in a mask hiding his face, Mannion wrote. Our clothes were drawn on with permanent marker by other protesters. We were called the most vile names I've ever heard as we entered and exited the venue. Mannion said she and Looney, who operate the Travis Mannion Foundation, did not attend the ball for political reasons. The pair support Donald Trump just as they supported the previous administration, just like we will support every future administration that the American people elect. Looney and Mannion were initially late to the ball because they couldn't get through an angry mob in the street that was burning trash cans and smashing windows. When they eventually got near the entrance, a group of around 75 people tried separating them from the ball. It was as the 2 women walked through the crowd, the people began pushing them and yelling insults. Keep in mind, again, they lost their loved ones fighting for this country. The alleged events Friday night followed rioting and destruction earlier in the day by so-called protesters upset by Trump's election. Trash cans were set ablaze, merchants' windows smashed, limousine torched. To witness this act, to see, I hate to even refer to it as protesting, because it was an accelerated version of that, to say the least, was really hard when we tried to instill unity versus creating more division. So that's something to make you mad. And then here's one more to make you mad. The U.S. sent $221 million of your tax money, not the U.S., Obama, who was still the U.S. president at that time, sent $221 million to Palestinians in Obama's last hours. Folks, you know what's that old joke? A million here and a million there, and eventually it turns into real money? $221 million to Palestinians who hate Americans, hate Jews, and want to burn Israel and push every Jew into the sea and murder us all. And I say us because I am Jewish. Officials say the Obama administration, in its waning hours, defied Republican opposition and quietly released $221 million to the Palestinian Authority that GOP members of Congress had been blocking. By the way, how do you even do that? If the GOP Congress is blocking it, how do you just go around them? This is not a king. This country's not a monarchy. You can't just overrule what Congress wants. A State Department official and several congressional aides said the outgoing administration formally notified Congress it would spend the money Friday morning. The official said former Secretary of State John Kerry had informed some lawmakers of the move shortly before he left the State Department for the last time Thursday. The aide said written notification dated January 20th. That was the day, Friday, of the inauguration. It was sent to Congress hours before Trump took the oath of office. In addition to the $221 million for the Palestinians, the Obama administration told Congress it was going ahead with the release of another $6 million in foreign affairs spending, including $4 million for climate. See, there we go. Crazy, loony climate change. Liberals for climate change programs and $1.25 million for UN organizations. Congress had initially approved the Palestinian funding in budget year 2015, but at least two GOP lawmakers, Ed Royce of California, whose office I was in, whose party I attended on Capitol Hill on Thursday, the 19th of January. I was in Ed Royce's office. I spent some time with Ed. You'll see a photo of him and I on my Facebook page and my Twitter page. So Ed Royce and Kay Granger of Texas had placed holds on it over moves the Palestinian Authority had taken to seek membership in the international organizations. Congressional holds are generally respected by the executive branch, but are not legally binding after funds have been allocated. The Obama administration had for some time been pressing for the release of the money for the Palestinian Authority. The 1.25 for UN agencies is to be used as voluntary contributions to the UN Peacebuilding Fund, the UN Special Coordinator on Improving the UN Response to Sexual Exploitation Fund, the Montreal Protocol Secretariat, which oversees the protection of the ozone layer, the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. You can imagine what they're made up of, what kind of liberal scum lawyers are on the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, and the UN System Staff College. I wouldn't give any of them a dime. I'd throw a penny on the ground and make them lick the sidewalk to get it. That's how I feel about the UN. Screw them. Anything I say screw, Obama loves. Obama loves to screw what I hate, to put it another way. The $4 million for climate programs includes assistance for clean energy. Yeah, exactly. The crap that bankrupts the nation and doesn't work. Sustainable landscapes, more BS. Cutting greenhouse gas emissions, more BS. And creating a climate technology center, more bullspit. The last-minute allocation contained $1.05 million funding for the State Department's Special Representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan and the Bureau of South and Central Asia Affairs. Everything in life I can't stand. Barack Obama funded in the last hours. The Palestinian funding is likely to draw anger from some in Congress as well as the Trump White House. Trump vowed to be a strong supporter of Israel and has invited Benjamin Netanyahu to visit Washington next month. What a surprise. Trump loves Israel. As my Jewish relatives say, Trump's a Nazi. Trump loves Israel. Obama loves Muslims. Jews in America love Obama. Make any sense? Of course not. Makes no sense at all. It's the most absurd crap I've ever heard in my life. Wake up, Jews. Are you all blind, deaf, and dumb? When it comes to politics, you are. When it comes to business, you're smart. When it comes to relationships, you're smart. When it comes to family, you're smart. But boy, when it comes to politics, my fellow Jews have their head up there, you know what. Trump has also pledged to move the U.S. Embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Despite speculation in Israel that an announcement of the move is imminent, Spicer said the decision-making process is only in its very early stages. But boy, if he does that, can you imagine? Can you imagine the response from the Muslim world? Oh my gosh. All right, other things we'll talk about the rest of this hour. The new White House website is English only. God, I love Donald Trump. God, I love you, Donald. In a straight man kind of way. If a straight man can love another straight man, I love Donald Trump. He just does everything right. Everything I would do. No mas. No mas. The Obama website is gone. It gave up like Roberto Duran. No more. I give up. Trump's the hero. Trump's the winner. Trump's the champion. No mas. No more Hispanic website. And I also heard no more Muslim prayers in the White House. And the Churchill bust is back. And Trump signs executive orders renegotiating Keystone and Dakota Access pipelines. And in California, a record number of Californians support secession. Goodbye. Get lost. Good riddance. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Losers. Get rid of California. Please leave. Oh my God, would this be a great country without California? Let it be a country. Let it sink. It'll be the first bankrupt nation since Zimbabwe. And Greece. No, Greece is up there. Zimbabwe and Greece that need constant handouts to survive. California will be the third country that needs handouts to survive. Please leave. Good riddance. God bless. Here's the door, California. We don't want you anymore. Please leave. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a great guest, and then we'll take your call. 702-546-4790, Wayne Allyn Root. The battle's just begun. Even though this is a great war, a Wayne Allyn Root war, the battle's just begun, and we're going to win it. Be right back. All right. One of the things I have not had a chance to mention yet, and we'll get to it later in this hour, or if I never get to it, we'll get to it tomorrow on tomorrow's show. But in his last hours in office, Obama issued a massive ammunition ban on federal land, stopping people from hunting. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. You can't believe what a bad, bad, bad person Barack Obama is. But, man, he is bad to the bone. Bad to the bone. We've got a guest who is good to the bone. His name is Andy Gause. He's been on the show before. His topic is Trump's billionaire brain trust. He's one of America's foremost experts on America's monetary system and the history of U.S. currency. He is the president of STL Numismatics. Great guy, Andy Gause. Welcome to the Wayne Allyn Root Show. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
He's also the author, by the way, The Secret World of Money. That's his book, The Secret World of Money. And so several Trump appointments have served as Goldman Sachs executives. You know, I love everyone Trump appointed, Andy, except for the Goldman Sachs executives. And they worry, your sample question says their presence worries some Trump supporters. Well, I'm a smart guy. I'm not just a Trump supporter. I'm a media expert, and I'm in the media myself, and they worry me. I don't like Goldman Sachs people, and I thought that Trump would keep them out of his administration, but they don't seem like bad Goldman Sachs people. One of them, Mnuchin? I think that's how you pronounce it, Stephen Mnuchin. He announced that he's for the gold standards. That'd be great. So maybe he's not a bad Goldman Sachs guy. You tell me.
Well, the bad Goldman Sachs guys seem to never leave Goldman Sachs, that's for sure. I know that you remember when, you don't remember, but if you study history, the crash of 1929 gave us all kinds of new government regulations, and the first was the Securities and Exchange Commission. We think they've been around forever, but the SEC really only started in 1934 after all of the hearings in Congress revealed what they had been doing. And so Roosevelt looked around. He's like, who am I going to pick to head the SEC? And then he thinks Joe Kennedy. Well,
who's the biggest crook of all time?
Right. He was the number one market manipulator, knew every trick, had every consortium and every pool in his pocket. And so Morgenthau, who was Secretary of the Treasury, said to Roosevelt, are you out of your mind? This guy's a nut. You're putting a crook in charge. He said, well, who better to catch crooks than another crook? And when I think of Mnuchin, I think he knows where all the bodies are buried at Goldman Sachs and what they do and how they do it. And if he could stop them from taking the federal government for a ride on its bonding issues, I heard him talking about 70-year debt. Can you imagine the Treasury issue like a perpetual bond, a 70-year bond? These clowns, forgive me, they're gone now, that were in charge, they took the nation's debt and put 60% of it on a 5-year maturity or less.
Wow.
Can you imagine running your business like that where 60% of your long-term debt is due and payable in 5 years? That's insane.
Well, especially when almost every expert on record thinks that interest rates are going dramatically up now and have nowhere else to go but up. Yeah. That means in 5 years you're going to pay much, much higher rates. That's crazy.
Well, but you can save money if everybody took their mortgage and put it on a 5-year note with a 30-year payout and a balloon at the end of 5 years. Hey, you get a lower interest rate, but boy, how do you sleep at night knowing at the end of 5 years you have to refinance the entire mortgage or lose the house?
Right.
In our case, what are we going to lose the country? So anyway, the Obama administration saw fit to issue these short-term 1, 2, and 5-year notes to fund our national debt, and fully 60% of it is due and payable, essentially, in Mr. Trump's first term.
And you mentioned, Andy, we're talking to Andy Gause, by the way, and you mentioned that Trump has an idea, or Mnuchin has an idea, maybe to renegotiate all of it to 70-year terms. I mean, when you talk about how does anyone sleep at night if they have a 5-year mortgage, well, I would sleep really well at night with a 70-year mortgage. So if that's the idea, then that's a pretty brilliant idea, right?
I think it is. So, Mnuchin is that brilliant kind of guy. And he worked inside Goldman Sachs. He knows all the tricks. There's nothing that can get by him. And I wouldn't mind a former Goldman guy working for me. And that's essentially what we have now. Our Secretary of the Treasury is a former Goldman guy that is trusted, apparently, by Donald Trump. Plus, I love his movies, Mad Max. And
Sully, I believe Sully.
That's right.
I was just watching Sully the other day, and all of a sudden it says produced by Steve Mnuchin. I was like, what? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a tough business. So if he's managed to keep his head afloat, and he foreclosed on a bunch of people with his One West stuff. So he's done bad stuff, he's done good stuff, and now he's our Secretary of the Treasury designee. So I am, of course, very familiar with Goldman Sachs, dating all the way back to 1869, the founding of that firm. And they were one of the primary owners of the Federal Reserve. I understand the criticism, but I'm not going to condemn this guy just because he used to work there. And if you think that's bad, though, hey, consider this. You know where he worked after that?
Where?
He worked for George Soros.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
So, you put those two together, and he's making a lot of people nervous, but I would give him a chance, because if he starts out by putting the government's debt, or the people's debt, really, on a sound footing. I mean, we have $20 trillion in bonded debt and another 38 to 40 in unfunded or unbonded liabilities, everything from pensions to borrowed money from the G Fund to all those trust funds that they robbed.
And you may be, Andy, you may be on the low side. I mean, I hear a lot of people I respect saying we have between 100 and 200 trillion in unfunded debt. So I don't know where those numbers come from.
If you put in contingent liabilities, like if you throw in all the co-signed forgive me, everything that we've co-signed, the Export-Import Bank, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, that number's well over 200 trillion. But that assumes every mortgage goes bad, every export-import deal goes bad, everything goes bad.
Well, it could. It could happen.
That's right.
We could be
everybody would be in the same boat. The entire system would then be a smoldering heap, and only gold and silver coins would be money. So maybe it's better.
Well, if we ever went BK, why couldn't a country go BK? I mean, Argentina went BK. If you just went BK and said we're not going to pay any of it back, we don't owe anything tomorrow, we're wiping it clean, the only people you'd wipe out would be the Goldman Sachs of the world. They'd get wiped out, right?
No, unfortunately, no. See, this is the dirty little secret, is that there's 170 separate trust funds for various things. Your Social Security Trust Fund has nearly $3 trillion in it. But guess what? It's all IOUs. So if we were to not pay, not only would the Social Security Fund be bankrupt and the government fund would be bankrupt, all the retirement plans for the military, everybody, they took all that money. 170 trust funds have been looted, and the money has been spent on compassionate social services. So we have to pay that back, or all of those trust funds are unable to continue. And just Social Security alone, we own $3.2 trillion.
All right, so if we went BK, Social Security checks would stop coming, is what you're telling me.
That's right, unfortunately. And so would any other retirement check that's backed by the government.
Couldn't there be a negotiation, though? Couldn't you negotiate that we're going to bankrupt China, we're not going to pay you, we're going to blow you off, we're going to bankrupt Goldman Sachs, we're going to blow you off, we're going to bankrupt Japan, we're going to blow you off, but we're going to pay 50 cents on the dollar to Social Security and 40 cents on the dollar to government employee, federal employee pensions. Couldn't you negotiate a deal like that?
Well, that's a start. I mean, if you add in Japan, we owe them $1 trillion. We owe China $1 trillion and change. We owe the other oil-producing nations another $500 billion. So that's a good start. But when you drill down into the nuts and bolts, the Federal Reserve is holding $2 trillion worth of U.S. debt.
All right, so screw them. Let them go too. Who cares? Right?
I'm all in favor of this. If we convert from Federal Reserve notes, which are the Goldman Sachs of the world, right? They're their notes.
Right.
We convert from Federal Reserve notes to U.S. notes. Now, that's what Kennedy did in '63. I don't know, anybody that was around then may remember these things. They came around for a minute. They were red, and they said across the top, instead of Federal Reserve note, U.S. note. Now, those things, you could issue those in quantity equal and identical to the Federal Reserve notes, and then say to the people, bring in your Federal Reserve notes, we're cashing them in for U.S. notes, hand all those Federal Reserve notes to the Fed, take back our Treasury bonds, and then tell them to go screw. Because, now we've paid our debt. Here's your Federal Reserve notes back. We've replaced them with U.S. notes. And then all funding from the Treasury should emit from the Treasury, for goodness sakes. Why do we issue a bond and then give it to the Federal Reserve? They print the money and give it to us at interest. Why don't we just print the money ourselves? So if Trump gets into the nuts and bolts of that with Mnuchin's help, I think it'll be the best thing America ever saw ever since Jackson.
All right, I hope so. Remember that movie, Catch Me If You Can? I don't remember the name of the character in that movie. I can't remember, but whoever that character was.
Abagnale.
Yeah, Abagnale. Frank Abagnale was eventually hired by the FBI to be the guy who teaches about white-collar crime. And so maybe Mnuchin's the perfect guy to be Treasury Secretary, It's definitely unusual.
Crook to catch crooks.
Only Donald Trump could you be watching a movie and the name comes up, executive produced by the guy who's now your Treasury Secretary. How bizarre is that? I mean, that's pretty wild. A couple more questions, then we're running to ad break because we got to pay our bills. But
sure.
In your opinion, should Trump rethink any of his cabinet appointments? Anybody you would rethink?
Comey. I wouldn't leave him at the FBI.
No,
like
I wouldn't either.
Girl.
You're right. I wouldn't either. It just came out today that he's asking him to stay, and I wouldn't ask him to stay. But see, they didn't say he's asking him to stay permanently. They said for the time being until they come up with another choice. So that could be a short-term stay. So let's hope.
Yeah, until next Tuesday. That would be good. Yeah.
So where do you see the Dow and interest rates and the national debt around 2020 after Trump's first term?
Well, I think the pizza pie is going to stay essentially the same, but we're going to cut it into smaller slices. So I see inflation, I see a bigger Dow, I see higher interest rates, higher gold, higher silver, higher housing prices. And a robust, booming economy. That's the thing. We can all stand a little inflation. It's that the stagflation would kill us. We need a robust economy. I really believe that Mr. Obama and his advisors kept farming, fishing, mining, and manufacturing in check so as to control the inflation that they knew would be released with a full employment economy. So I don't think it was an accident that we've had a sluggish 8 years, and I think Mr. Trump's just going to throw caution to the wind and let the engine run full speed for a term or two. I think we could stand it, that's for sure.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, my Yiddish grandmother used to say, and I hope you're right, because I didn't hear anything you said that I would not love. In other words, I'd love a robust economy, good for all my businesses and my careers.
Yep.
I'd love a stock market that's up. I'd love my house prices going dramatically up. I'd love gold to go dramatically up. And I'd like a little bit of inflation because that's good for seniors to get interest on their bank accounts. So everybody wins with all that, right?
Almost, yeah. The debtors certainly benefit because they're going to pay back their debts with dollars that are worth substantially less. But there's only one category that's hurt,
which is
if you look at the Federal Reserve's metric MZM, which is money with a zero maturity. In other words, nobody owes it to me. It's mine. It's parked in my bank account. I can get it tomorrow. Has a zero maturity. That number's $14 trillion. For the last 7 years, Americans have doubled the amount of money that they have just sitting. And those folks will suffer. If you're a saver, if you have cash accounts, cash in the bank, not a lot of assets, but a lot of cash, you're going to suffer. And if you have municipal bonds and treasury bonds and CDs and all those financial instruments that will wither in the face of higher interest rates, especially if your maturities are long. If you're sitting in municipal bonds or 30-year debt or Disney 40-year bonds, you're in trouble. As interest rates rise, principal values will fall. So those are the only people that'll get hurt in this scenario.
Well, then
guys with cash.
Andy, I'm the big winner. Wayne Root hits the jackpot. I spend more than I make.
Right.
I spend everything I make and then some. I make lots of money and I spend lots of money. I've got lots of gold. I've got lots of homes with lots of equity in those homes. And I've got lots of businesses that would do well in a robust economy. So I win on every single level. I own no bonds, none, zero. So I win on every level.
You're excellent. I bet if I said to you, hey, Wayne, I'll loan you $1 billion on a 30-year payout at 6%, you'd probably take the money, wouldn't you, Wayne?
I'd probably take it. I would. I'd grab it. Are you offering, Andy? Because I'm in the market. Are you offering?
Oh no, man! I'm kind of taking the same deal. I'll pay a little more for interest. For me, leverage is key, and whoever creates the money first is going to get the best use out of it. So if you can leverage, as you mentioned, real estate, art, antiques, gold, automobiles, anything you can get your hands on that's tangible, physical, very few in supply, increasing demand. You're going to see a profit scheme over the next decade, that's for sure.
All right, Andy Gause, is there a website where people can reach you?
Oh, yeah, Andy Gause, GAUSE.com. You want to hear criticism of the Fed and monetary policy, it's all up there. I also have 3 audio CDs that I'll fling to your listeners, Wayne, if they'll mention the magic words, Wayne Allyn Root. Call 800-468-2646, and I'll send you my 3 CDs, which is the Federal Reserve, which is all about it, the definition of money, what the heck is a dollar, and protecting your wealth, how to take common sense steps to live through this inflation. And again, just call 800-468-2646 and mention Wayne so you don't get charged for them. Nobody will ask for a credit card. We'll ship it free.
All right. I love what's on the way. I love everything you're predicting. So let's hope from your lips to God's ears. Andrew Gause. Andy, great to have you on.
Thank you, Wayne.
Wayne Allyn Root, worn out. We shall return with your call, 702-546-4790 in California, 844-263-8232. We'll leave you with a little Hawaii 5-0. All right, Wayne Allyn Root. I hope Andy Gause is right, because those are some great things happening. If Donald Trump can pull this off, man. I've been telling everyone, I mean, I'm a soothsayer, because I didn't know any of that. All I knew is I've been told everyone before Trump was ever elected that if Donald Trump wins, it's going to be the 8th greatest year since Ronald Reagan, and all of us in the business world are going to get rich. And we're going to make all our money in the next 8 years, and then I'm going to be, let's say I'm 55, say at 8, I'll be 63, and then I'm going to retire and be done for the rest of my life. This should be the last 8 to 10 years of my effective business career. Thank God, if Hillary had won, would have been 8 miserable, horrible death years with no money to be made, because these people are so dumb. You know, I was just thinking the other day, I was thinking about writing a commentary why there was no good music at the Donald Trump inauguration. And the reason why is because no artists would allow themselves to appear there or even let their music be played there. Okay? There were actually cover songs at an inauguration. The first dance of the president was to Frank Sinatra's My Way, and My Way was a cover band. It wasn't My Way by Frank Sinatra. It was sung by a lousy singer. Talk about bad entertainment. Now, you may wonder, why is Wayne criticizing Donald Trump's inauguration? Because Donald Trump couldn't get a single decent artist to appear at his inauguration. Do you know why he couldn't get a single artist? Because artists are morons. They could be the greatest performer in the world. You know, the greatest. But it doesn't matter. They don't know how to make money. They don't know what to do with money. They don't know how to run a business. Bon Jovi's one of my favorite groups, top 5. They don't know how to run a business. They've got business managers. They've got managers. They've got agents. They've got accountants. They've got law firms. They've got probably wealth experts who teach them what to do with their money. And they have nothing to do with their own money. Those people all vote Republican. But the artists know nothing about money. So why don't they stick to what they know? And people like them have been running the country. They love Obama. They loved Hillary. They loved our Treasury Secretary under Obama. These are all morons who know nothing about money. So you want to stay away from anything they know. Just like the opposite is true. Wayne Root and Donald Trump, no one would pay to hear us sing. We got lousy voices. No one would pay to watch us dance. It was clear from watching the first dance that Donald Trump will make a great president, but a lousy dancer. I don't know how to dance. I got no soul. I'm white. White people can't dance. White people can't jump. And politicians can't sing. But liberals don't know anything about money. So yes, there was no great entertainment at Donald Trump's inauguration. But that's because the people who stayed away are the greatest performers in America. They're great at performing, but they cannot manage a country or an economy. Al Pacino doesn't know anything about running a business. Robert De Niro can't run a business. George Clooney can't run a business. Sean Penn can't run a business. Beyonce can't run a business. That's why they weren't at the inauguration. Artists don't belong making choices about who should run an economy. They know nothing about it. All right, we got line 2. Anthony is on the line. Anthony is on. Anthony, you're on with Wayne Allyn Root. W.A.R. How are you?
Yeah, hi, Wayne. Anthony from California. Before I get to my main point, I follow you on Twitter. I get all your notifications and a lot of stuff that Wayne talks about. You can get it first when he tweets, because a lot of the stuff. By the way, Wayne, on Twitter, Ed Royce. I saw your picture with Ed Royce. Ed Royce is a superstar in California, and he is going to be a superstar in the federal government. I love, how you love Donald Trump. I love Ed Royce, and to see two of my favorite guys, Wayne Root and Ed Royce, that was such an awesome picture, by the way.
And by the way, you love Ed Royce. You ought to love Ed Stoltz, by the way, because Ed Stoltz, that reminded me, owns this station, and he opened the California station that you're listening on, 98.1 FM in Palm Springs and the whole Coachella Valley, Rancho Mirage and Indian Wells, and et cetera, et cetera. Without Ed Royce, there is no station to listen to Wayne Root in California, and there is no 790 here in Las Vegas. So thank you, Ed Stoltz. So Ed Royce and Ed Stoltz are both great heroes.
Awesome. Hey, Wayne, I thought I knew a lot. I live in California. I lived here almost all my life. And I found out today, wow, this is really unbelievable. I found out today that the federal government has given a waiver to California over the last, whatever it is, 30, 40 years, so that California can run their fuel in their cars however they want. And what I mean by that is the standards that they're setting for the cars and for fuel on the cars and the smog tests that they do in California, it's all a waiver that they got by the federal government. And guess who is thinking about that? Trump's new nominee, the former Attorney General of Oklahoma. His name slips my mind right now.
Scott Pruitt.
Scott Pruitt is thinking about what he's going to do. If he ends this, Wayne, I got to tell people in Nevada this. We have a bunch of lazy bums that go to meetings like once a month for these things called the carbon air board emissions and there's hundreds of them, Wayne, hundreds of them, because of all these regulations that they're getting from fuel and from the cars and from the smog test, and they make like over $100,000 a year to go to these meetings like once a month. I cannot wait if Scott Pruitt comes here and he ends that waiver and all these bums are thrown out in the gutter where they belong.
I'm with you. Thank you. We have a person with common sense in California, Anthony, who's called in a few times now. He's our number one California caller, Anthony. We like you. You're the Frank and JD of California. And Gary, of course. And we've got Gary on the line, but we're not going to take him yet. Don't grab him. We need to go to an ad break. When we get back from the ad break, we'll take Gary, we'll take Moisha, 2 regular callers, and then we'll be done for the day, and we'll see you on Wednesday. We'll call it a day. Wayne Allyn Root, a couple more calls to come. They'll be good ones. W.A.R. now. All right, Wayne Allyn Root back again. And we're not good without Donald Trump. We're not good with Barack Obama. We wouldn't have been good with Hillary Clinton, but you're good with Wayne Root. You got a war on your hands. Trump signs executive orders, putting Keystone and Dakota back in the pipeline, excuse the pun. His new White House website begins with English only. Got rid of all the Spanish language content. Trump orders media blackout at the EPA, bans the use of social media, and bars new contracts at the Environmental Protection Agency. My God, my God, my God, I love this man. But wait, here's the new exclusive out seconds ago. Trump expected to sign executive orders on immigration tomorrow. Are you ready? Are you holding your breath? Donald Trump expected to sign several executive orders restricting immigration from Syria and 6 other Middle Eastern or African countries. God bless Donald Trump. God is with us. What do I want to say here? Allah Akbar? God is good. Allah Akbar. In addition to Syria, Trump's orders are expected to restrict access to the United States for most refugees. It gets better. Another order will block visas from being issued from Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. The restrictions on refugees are likely to include a multi-month ban on admissions from all countries until the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security can make the vetting process more rigorous. I couldn't keep up with how many bad things Obama was doing on a weekly basis. It was making my head spin. Now I can't keep up with how many good things Donald Trump is doing. And can you imagine how dumb a liberal would have to be to get mad at what I just read? Oh, my God, we're restricting visas. How terrible. How terrible. Obama's former big shot chief counsel at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, that guy says from a legal standpoint, it would be exactly within his legal rights. He's now a professor, by the way, at Washington University School of Law in St. Louis. Of course he is. But from a policy standpoint, it would be terrible because there's such an urgent humanitarian need right now for refugees. Really? What's the urgent need? It's not our need, America First need. It's the refugees' need. I don't need to help them. I don't need them in my country. We don't need them. Let's ask my friends in Vegas. Do you want them? Do you need them? Do you want to pay welfare for them? Do you want to pay food stamps for them? Do you want them to go to school with your kids? No. No, you don't. You know what? Liberals don't either. Because the liberals who say they do, your kids go to private schools. Your kids aren't in those schools. Your kids don't go to inner city schools or middle class neighborhoods where these kids are sent. Your kids are in rich schools and private schools and Christian schools and Jewish schools like the Sheldon Adelson School. They don't take refugees. So who are you to stuff them down the throats of good middle-class Americans? Let's take deplorable Gary on line one. DG. What's up, DG?
Hey, Wayne.
Quickly.
Yes, everyone saw the limousine that the protesters burnt up and everything. But last night at 1 o'clock, I heard on a radio station, on this good station here, not as good as you, but they say the man was a Muslim and he wasn't even a Trump supporter. Okay, they burnt the limousine. They sent him back. That was his livelihood, and he doesn't even know if he has riot insurance for this thing. This is not fake news.
You need riot insurance on your. If you have car insurance on your car and it gets burned, you need riot insurance. I never even knew that. That's unbelievable.
Do you remember the controversy about flood insurance?
Yes. I do.
They thought they were covered, and the insurance company said, no, well, you have house insurance, but not a flood insurance. The man sent back $70,000. He's not even a Trump supporter. He's a Muslim, and he had to go to the hospital trying to defend himself and his limousine, and it's not on the news. It's nowhere.
All right, Gary, we got to go, buddy. We got to go. It's the end of the show. Gary, it's the end of the show, buddy. I'm sorry to cut you off. We love our deplorable Gary. For now, I'm going to call him Adorable Gary. He's not Deplorable Gary. He's Adorable Gary. And the phones are ringing again, and the lines are filled. I'm sorry. We got to go. The show's over. Call back tomorrow. We want to hear from you tomorrow. Call early tomorrow. Janelle and Moisha and Gary, call early at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Wayne Allyn, Warren.